sorry, sir. That's the wrong war, the wrong holiday, the wrong ethnic group.
We prepared.
That's still the wrong war. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Sure, it's like a day in spring, but when Irishmen are smiling. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's the fun show.
It's the
Consistent to its formula. We rehearsed a number of songs, and then we got a surprise. We said on things. Sitting behind the keyboard, the maestro, the master, the host, Michael Sallen. Sitting next to me, Kiera Miner. Back again, our regular centerpiece these days.
Aw,
Centerpiece, that's it.
Excellent, I'll take it.
I hope we're going out on the air
And
tonight.
our a visitor today from the 18th century,
Oh,
General Henry Knox.
Mr. Knox, it's
Henry
nice to
Knox.
meet you.
Very much. Commander of Continental
It's always
Artillery,
a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, sir.
Chief Engineer, Secretary of War.
We English
What
like
brings you
to
here
have
today?
some foreign people on board here.
You understand a word he's
Not
saying?
at all.
Oh,
Oh,
excuse
no
me.
one there.
Sir, you sound like General Gates. I can't
Oh.
understand you. Anyway, we're commemorating the fact that we have
I thought-
Evacuation Day in Suffolk County, celebrated generally by a St. Patrick's Day parade, although the parade was yesterday. And as I explained to youngsters as I went around the city on Friday, I'm the reason that there's a holiday that everybody thinks is St. Patrick's Day, but is actually Evacuation Day. As I hauled 58 cannons from Ticonderoga and snuck them up on Dorchester Heights, chased the British out of Boston. And the one favor they did for me in return is they took every in-law I had with them.
Oh. That's a nice outfit you have on, General.
Well, yes.
Oh,
Very pretty
nice.
blue.
Yeah, did you get the Macy's had those selling 2 for 1 today, I think.
I almost got one.
Okay.
We should have all been General Knox today. Would have stolen your thunder, though, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you could be Lucy,
Who's Lucy?
my wife.
Oh,
Does she like rum too?
I'm sure she does.
Yes, yeah.
Sure she does.
okay.
absolutely, I do, yes.
Lucy Flucker.
Lucy,
Flucker.
that's right.
Lucy
It's
Flucker.
a good thing she got married and became Lucy Knox.
Okay.
Her father was a very big Tory, and so when the British left, he went with them and all her other relatives. She never heard from them again. She was a real hero, as
Speaking
many
of-
of the women were. Poor woman had 13 children, only saw 3 of them grow up.
That's
Aw.
right. Yeah, you mentioned one of the things that gives us a segue. Never heard from them again.
Yes.
Is that something to do with that Malaysia flight?
That was a good segue,
Good
Mike.
segue, good segue.
Excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, it's rather amazing. Have no idea. It's going to
You
be,
think we'll ever see it again?
well, I don't know. It's going to be really
I
a
don't know.
very interesting question if it's actually on the ground somewhere.
It could be.
It's going to be a very, very
highly
interesting.
likely it is.
Well,
It's
if
highly
they
likely
flew it
that
for
it
7 hours, they
is.
got rid of all the gas.
Well, but
and
if they did in fact set it down somewhere, it's going to make a fascinating story. But now they're thinking that the route towards Australia is the most likely.
Oh.
I don't know how they figure these things out because they now have like a 60-40 decision that the 40% they flew north and 60% they flew south. But
Okay.
Clearly, it's a puzzle that no one has a clue. is
no, they have no
any
clue.
of the pieces.
I mean, we assume that it's sitting several miles deep in the South Pacific, but if it's sitting at a remote airport in Kazakhstan, it makes a much more interesting question. Although one would think that if it was kidnapped for ransom, they would have made their demand by now.
At this point, I would think so.
Well, then there's that vote that was taken down on that Ukraine territory, which
Crimea?
it was Ukraine's territory.
Now it's
But-
Russian.
Well, they voted to secede
Well, actually-
almost.
Well, yeah,
Really?
interestingly enough, it turns out that what they voted was for independence.
Yeah.
But it's a little funny because it's independence sort of like Texas independence. Its independence is a very short step to becoming part of Russia.
Okay.
And the only thing I'm concerned about is Russia in the last week or so has made a few forays into other parts of Ukraine.
That's correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that those were just sort of like the bird bath as something to give up in order to get people to accept they're taking Crimea. You know, there's an old adage that says if you want to get the $100 million hospital passed by the committee, you put a $50,000 bird bath out front and let the committee cut the bird bath. You know?
Okay.
So
Thank
there's a-
goodness he knows everything, Mike.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't
No,
know.
he knows everything.
He doesn't know about the Brain Institute. That's what he doesn't know.
You don't know about the Brain Institute?
I don't have one of those.
Paul Allen in Seattle is giving a lot of money from Microsoft, and Fred Cavalier is also giving. He's a real estate tycoon. He's giving money for this brain institutes, and people are donating brains so they can study them.
Okay.
I
Would
don't-
you donate your brain?
I'd have to think on that. That's an interesting. Yeah. Hello, brain. Are you interested?
You got quite a big brain too, so.
A small. It's actually it's a fat head, but a small brain. Okay. All right. Columbia,
Unique case of vacant space in the skull. Yes.
Columbia, South America. The Inspector General remove. You're taking on that.
Oh, my goodness.
What? You know what? You didn't tell us. You didn't tell us about these two 11s. The 11s on there.
There's an 11 on there?
Yeah.
If you want to do that, he's been watching. He's been watching Ellen DeGeneres too much. He thinks they're 11s. No, that simply is to hold the brim up in the tricorn.
Oh, okay.
See, it's not 11.
You having now brought up the hat, it occurred to me recently that this has got to be the least efficient hat ever designed in the histories
Wrong,
of hats.
wrong. It
No?
would collect rainwater and then you would have something to drink.
Yes. True.
See?
Well, it
I
gives
mean-
absolutely no shade, and
No.
it does, in fact, fill up with rainwater
Yeah.
in the rain.
Yeah.
Usually,
No canteens back then.
usually you don't want a quart and a half of water on your head.
No. But they didn't have canteens. Then you just
Yes,
take your
no,
hat down, drink.
We did, in fact, have canteens.
Did we? Yes. Are you sure?
Yes.
Now, I don't know.
They were wooden.
Clearly, they weren't efficient
They
canteens.
were wooden.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are interested, but the Inspector General of Colombia, that's the country in South America, removed.
Did you have any idea about that?
Well, only because he corrected the Columbia, South Carolina that he started with.
Yeah, I
so
started with that.
I saw him make a quick correction
Now,
there.
he
so.
he removed the mayor of Bogota for switching the city's garbage collection from a private company to a city run service. The mayor of Bogota was removed.
That's interesting. In
Well,
other words, he was standing up for the guy who had the contract.
Yes,
Who
that's
probably paid him off.
It wasn't a very popular decision,
well,
apparently.
I can't comment on that, but it sounds reasonable. Okay, a lot of good
That
things.
sounds like a comment to me.
I
Yeah,
think so.
a
he
lot
wouldn't have
of-
brought it up if
A
he
lot
didn't
of
have
things
some
going
thoughts
on
about
with
it.
professional sports,
There certainly are.
and you got
And college sports is at its absolute height right at this week.
Yeah, the Bruins winning 8 straight,
Bruins are doing very well.
and the
Celtics
Celtics
are
are
useless.
doing nothing.
They're
They are.
useless.
They're playing hard.
Okay.
What do you think of the Celtics?
They're losing.
I don't.
close.
I'm not a sports person. I don't care. I know it's terrible.
Would
I
you pay
just-
$200 or more for a seat in the garden there?
No, but if someone said, "Here, you want to have a seat in the garden," I would. And I've not been in
Would you go
years.
for the
I would.
experience?
I would go for the experience. I sat in a box once, so if they said, "Come on down to the floor and you can be a part of this," I would say
They
absolutely.
get you a big hot dog.
Yeah.
One of
you
those
know?
ringside seats or whatever, right?
Well,
Exactly.
okay.
Why
all right.
not? I'm all about the experience.
Okay.
I remember when I was a kid, I lived in St. Louis, and I would go watch the St. Louis Hawks play, and they played in the gymnasium, of the local college, Washington University, and you could sit in the balcony at the end that the basket was literally attached to.
Wow.
And so you could look down on their heads,
Right.
look down through the basket. That was my favorite ever of basketball, sitting above the basket and looking down on
Oh,
them.
okay.
pretty cool. Good
the
angle.
old Bruins gallery guards had that kind of. I was up there in the third balcony.
Well, there was that interesting thing on each side that hung down off the second balcony. It was actually a photographer's platform, and it was literally out over the ice,
Right.
past the thing. That's where I got to sit the year
Oh.
that Bobby Orr won that
You
first
saw that? Yeah.
Stanley Cup.
Very
Were you
nice.
there?
So-
Yeah,
Excellent.
Okay.
I was
You-
sitting there.
You've been in the right place at the right time a lot of times,
And this
haven't
was
you?
just out of doing a kid a favor. There was a kid who was writing his thesis on public housing at Harvard. I helped him on his thesis, and it turned out his father was a part owner of the Chicago Blackhawks. So his thank you present to me was playoff tickets to the Stanley Cup final.
Nice.
Have you got
Very cool.
anything new about casinos or
I was going to
your
ask you that
research?
question.
Well, we
Do you-
know-
what do you think about casinos?
Well, I'm waiting to see one, a big one open.
Well, there's a big hearing
Yeah.
on the
Because
25th.
he knows.
He thinks he
And
knows.
he's got it figured out.
No, he doesn't.
Sorry.
He doesn't know.
No, that's okay. Go
He
ahead.
thinks
There's
he
a big
knows,
hearing.
There's a big hearing to decide on
His sister knows.
the Revere, or hearing on the Revere Casino on the 25th.
Okay.
And,
Of this month.
and I plan to be there to speak against the Revere Casino.
I'll be there
Oh.
to speak for it.
Okay,
So
that's good.
now
That'll
it
confuse
comes
them a lot.
out. Now I understand what's been going on. This whole time we talk about it, we talk about it. I have no idea what we're talking
Would
about half
Governor
the time.
Christie be in favor of the casinos? Governor Christie.
Or and against.
Depends how much they're paying him.
He had one of these country club meetings that he has all over.
What's a country club meeting?
Well, he invites in all these
Big donors.
people.
Okay.
Yeah, and everybody is told in advance, don't ask him any tough questions, that kind of thing. Only there were 6 college kids.
Republican wing.
There were 6 college kids up there the other night, and they blasted. They were yelling, and he sets the rules up. The rules are that nobody speaks out unless he recognizes your hand.
Right.
Okay, you have to raise
They
your.
disrupted everything.
So they
then.
volunteered their opinion.
And then these people in the audience booed the kids, the college kids.
Wow.
What'd you
You
think?
know what I loved
What's a
was
bad etiquette? If there's an etiquette in place that everyone's following, there's something to be
what
said
I,
about
what
that.
I loved was
But
the
it shook
Jimmy
'em.
Kimmel
It shook 'em
show
up.
down
Yeah,
in
I bet it did.
Texas.
The what?
Jimmy Kimmel show in Texas. He had the governor of Texas as his guest on the show. He was not only lustily booed when he came on, he was booed throughout his entire appearance by the
Wow.
audience. And he said, Austin's just a blue dot in the middle of a red sea
Oh,
here. He says,
man.
Austin's a blueberry and a bowl of tomato soup.
That's
Oh, that just, I'm sure
was
that
it. I would-
it
yeah,
gave him
that-
some
that-
more fans.
Okay, well, it's
Probably.
interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I heard today was that somebody who said, you're right, George W. would never have put up with Putin invading Crimea like this. He would have attacked New Zealand by now.
Yeah, well, we had some nice remarks from other senators and Congress people about this. They keep saying that our president is weak about on foreign policy. I mean, what do they want him to do? Get up with barbells or something and out in front of
I don't know
everybody?
what they want him to do, given the fact that every poll shows that a disappointingly large majority of Americans don't want him to do anything.
Yeah.
No,
I
I mean,
I don't think they're going to vote for him though.
frankly, Ukraine. Well, he's never running again, so it's all right.
I'd vote for him again in a heartbeat.
Well, he's,
Yeah.
I feel bad for him, and she, and his wife must feel bad, the first lady, about this stuff. A lot of negative things.
It's frustrating. You can't please
lot-
anybody under those circumstances.
And of course, the Koch brothers never let up on him.
No,
No,
they just spend the money, spend the money, spend
you
the
keep
money.
spending the money. All right. So charter schools.
Charter schools?
That subject doesn't
Pro or
leave.
con?
Charter school doesn't leave. There's still everybody, not just in
It's not going to leave
Massachusetts.
for a long time.
Well, what are the
No.
pros and cons? You're a former principal. What are the pros and cons of charter schools?
Well, I'm pro and con on charter schools.
That is very enlightening, Mike.
Yeah, sometimes I think they're very good. They make public schools more competitive.
Okay.
That's good. They do things that the public schools aren't doing, and they say, look, you want to try to do this? We'll help you. And the principal will say, go to you know where. I can run my own place and my own shop, and and if the state says you'll do what they ask you to do or else.
And besides, if the union found out that I even talked to you, I'm in deep doo-doo.
That's another problem.
Yeah, it's another element to that.
That's another.
So
now,
what's the against? That was your pro.
that was my pro. Now,
So where's your con?
the con is it's a private school that exists with public money.
Okay.
And that's tough. You have to think about that. Everybody that's talking about charter schools has to really think about that.
Did you always have that complaint about Latin?
No. But
Why not?
I wasn't Ben Franklin. I didn't at that time. But I had that thing on my arm when I went.
It
there.
is true that it was the first school in the city.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it was always an elite.
Grandfathered in. That's what it is.
It was always an elite private school on public money.
Yeah. Well, that was then.
So if that didn't bother you, probably charter schools shouldn't.
Well, it's still a tough one. And then you got it like New York City. You have the mayor, de Blasio, and he wants everybody to have pre-kindergarten, 4 years old. Everybody goes.
Okay.
So they need 29,000 seats in New York.
And he wants his predecessor to pay for it.
Well, that would be good. Yeah.
Because Bloomberg probably could afford to pay for it.
I don't. How this can work? Well, there's no way they can find 29,000 seats for all these kids, where the kids' parents can walk out of the house and take them into a neighborhood school. There aren't that many schools that are set up with extra seats.
Unless they build some.
Well, they're not going
Would
to
you
build.
be for it then, if there's room? Would you be?
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I would
because
be
I know
for
I
it.
would be.
I would be.
I absolutely support
But I mean, if
pre-K.
he really supports it, then he, in theory, would support building the schools to
Well,
accommodate it.
they're trying to decide how to fund them. That's the
Well,
problem.
I mean, that's the thing.
We're going to do it. We're going to end up doing it here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's
too.
not. My son went to pre-K, and financially, it's the way to go. I know that's sad, but for depending on how much.
You mean
you're-
as opposed to daycare?
as opposed to daycare.
Yeah.
The second they can go into pre-K, it's a whole. All of a sudden your budget change, your finances
Yeah,
change
it's
dramatically
very
because
tough.
of that.
That's the point. That's
Yeah.
a big part of this. And he says he's not going to tax New Yorkers for this. I don't know.
Where's he going to get the money?
I have no idea, but I saw him reading this in the New
Dream a
York
little
Times. He said-
dream with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
It's
other
just
words,
the safe thing to say. No, we're not
in
going
other
to
words,
tax anybody.
he's coming out in favor of something that he knows will never happen. And he can claim he was in front of it, and he was in favor of it, and it's never going to happen.
All right.
It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, for the big unrehearsed Thespian Society's presentation for this evening.
This is my favorite part of the show.
Okay.
Yep.
A short classic from the vault. Actually,
vault.
a fairly recent. This is skimmed right off the top of the vault.
Oh,
the vault.
2007.
And
The vault. Okay.
never give that information
Oh, I'm
away.
sorry.
All right.
And besides, that may have been when it was retyped.
Okay. See?
The vault.
I didn't even give anything away.
You know.
However, it has an interesting title, one that you haven't heard the like of for quite a while. This is Incurable 2. This
Incurable.
is sort of
Two.
like Ice Age 2.
Okay.
Or something.
Okay.
Or Intolerable 2. Incurable 2.
Action.
So, did you hear Martha's in the hospital?
Wasn't it over between you two?
Then she called.
Yeah, well, it's all that, but she's hurting.
I'm puzzled.
Where will it lead?
Well, she's got a broken arm and a black eye.
And a new boyfriend.
But she turned to you.
What could I do?
Well, Nancy Pelosi's doing better than that.
You're cold, man.
Isn't this about Martha?
Just a gender thing with him. All women are alike.
President and cohorts angry over her Syrian visit?
Media says it's another foreign policy.
As I was saying, Martha tried to break up a bar fight.
Not too clever.
Well, she always defends the underdog, you know that?
She didn't do too well this time.
Lots of rejection.
Nancy's still Speaker of the House.
You really like her.
Joe likes Martha.
They're quite different.
Well, she didn't look very good in that hospital bed.
She took a physical beating.
Nancy's a fighter, too.
Look, would you just drop it
So what's to be done?
Are you going to help her?
up to a point?
Nancy's meeting with Assad is unpopular.
Republicans are very critical.
Well, I admit I drove her home.
Must have bills.
Nancy is a bona fide Democratic leader.
What about health insurance?
She has lousy coverage.
Congress has the best.
You're a worm.
This is nonsense.
The hospital scene was really depressing to me.
What do you expect?
Show some kindness.
Oh, he's just turned off.
A guy I know needed a kidney.
How very relevant now.
None is available here.
So what?
He went to Thailand and bought one.
Great.
He recuperating okay?
Yes, but now he has a heart trouble.
Wildly funny.
Why are you so hostile towards Martha?
At least you empathize.
Cool it.
She's got nobody around.
What about Nancy?
You're weird
Wise guy.
and so inconsistent.
Look, Martha's problem is very personal.
But unemployed.
From a food mart, a checkout cashier.
Suddenly you're her guardian?
She's a human being.
I had an angiogram last week.
Never mentioned it.
He's comparing his condition to hers.
No, but Nancy's role is important too.
He's a nutcase.
Listen, it's not romance.
She bounces around a lot.
Martha's no adolescent.
We're all responsible people.
Like a DA Nifong with the Duke players.
Where are you going with this stuff?
Well, look, she thanked me and she'll manage somehow.
Independence is good.
Why so negative?
He's got his own life.
And my own commitments.
She's not in the National Guard either.
You think it's about deployment?
Only curious.
Are you sure your surgical procedure was a success?
We'll have to see.
Sounds ominous.
You know he's wearing a monitor.
I'll survive.
If you follow directions.
He's weathered worse.
So is Don Imus.
His boss has terminated him.
Mike?
Don't worry, Mike will stick around.
Yeah, this is April.
You could be running the marathon.
Not with my heart valves.
Look, we're just concerned about Martha.
It's worrisome.
Fine.
And Nancy, too.
I guess they both can use some help.
Really? You're all heart.
Blackout. Okay, we got
That was it.
Right.
Yes.
I think we should do Incurable 1.
Incurable 2. Well, we'd have to find Incurable
You
1.
know, did you ever hear of a guy named Oscar Murillo or Murillo?
Sounds like a boxer.
I have no idea.
It turns out he's going to art school days and he's cleaning offices at night.
Okay.
But the best part is his paintings can fetch up to $400,000 each. What do
You
think
knew
of
that. You tried to
why
pretend you
so
didn't
why is he
know.
cleaning offices?
Well,
Makes him happy.
he's starting to make money, that's all. I don't know. He's got a lot of
I
responsibilities.
mean, if you claim his paintings can get $400,000, that implies that one of them got $400,000,
And
and that's enough to not be cleaning offices at
Well,
night.
maybe he had to
Maybe-
buy
or
health
he needs
insurance.
Stability, yeah.
You don't know.
He has expensive tastes.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you know this is Bernard Malamud's 100th birthday? He's a famous novelist,
I had no idea.
ironic novelist.
Did you know the other reason why Friday was Pie Day?
No. Go ahead. But I'm going to find out.
Because it's Einstein's birthday.
Pi Day. Okay.
3/14 is Pie Day.
Is that really his
It's
birthday?
the funniest thing in the world. My daughter went to the store
Gotta know these things.
to buy some pie crust. And the supermarket was totally, completely, and absolutely out of pie crust.
Okay.
They planned for months for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Easter and and
All the holidays.
Valentine's Day, but apparently they never heard of Pi Day.
I've never
and
heard
they,
of Pi Day.
And they didn't put anything in. Well, pi, the short form of pi is 3.14.
Yes.
Then an
I
endless
do,
stream
believe
of
it or not, I
numbers.
actually know that.
Okay. And it's also Einstein's birthday.
Now,
So it is actually International
Pi Day.
Okay.
Now, Niles Horner, a Swedish reporter, sadly is the latest fatality of a journalist who was killed in Kabul, or I think they pronounce it. And, you know, there are a lot of reporters are getting shot in all these different wars. I mean,
Yeah.
Is that unique?
well, it is now.
Well, it's picking up. They used to get a certain amount of
They get
of
wounded,
tolerance
yeah.
from the warring sides
but no more.
Okay.
and things. But now, in some places, they're actually targets.
Yeah, they
Okay.
really
And
are.
this is because so many of these wars are now wars in the media rather than being decided on the ground. That if the news that's reporting is hostile to your side or unbeneficial to your side, you may decide to target the reporters to keep it from getting out.
A lot of
makes
sex
sense.
allegations against private boys' schools in England.
Now,
This-
that segue was
kind of-
not particularly.
Yeah. He just wants to talk about it.
But
So,
it's
okay,
a-
wait. What kind of allegations? Against from teachers to boys, boys to boys?
These are young boys who, well, they were young years ago in these private schools, boarding schools,
Okay.
and they were abused in the schools by the instructors. That's what
Okay.
they're alleging, and it's
What are they
fine.
going to do about it?
But we've known this sort of thing.
Yeah,
we've
it's
known
like
about.
it hardly comes as a surprise to anybody.
Well, that's what I
I
was.
mean, they've been making movies and writing plays about that for about 80 years.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
And
are they
it
going to do?
was almost a given, right?
I don't. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, they'll get some restitution from the school and move on.
Well, okay.
I mean, what else are they going to do? That's
You
the
want
only
to talk
thing.
before a big joke would be the Patricia Campitelli, the Suffolk County Register of Probate, the one who punches out the guys in her office, that kind of stuff, and comes to work soused, as they say, allegedly.
Talk about a tough
Really?
boss, right?
Yeah.
Actually, before
I
we
could be
come
that
to the
boss.
end of this show, I think that we should mention
right.
good wishes to Tom Menino, who after
Yes.
his long service to the citizens of Boston has now announced that he has
He's gonna beat this thing.
late-stage cancer.
He's gonna beat this.
He may well. If anybody can, he will.
He'll do it.
Play it, sir.
Okay.
Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. We'll see you in our dreams. Good night, Irene. Good night, everybody, from the Fun Show here
I
at
hope they're
Big
watching
TV.
us out there.
We'll see you
They are.
next week, same time,
We've got at
same bat
least
channel.
Okay.
300,
You think so?
3,000 people
For
out there
polar
tuning
bear.
in.